$24 million announced to help veterans transition into employment after they leave. 6,000 leave the ADF each year. I've got to say, I've had a lot of different schemes and announcements over the years. What's the difference here? Is this just some more funding? What's happening?
Well, this is delivering an election commitment. We made a commitment in the lead up to the election that we would support greater veterans employment because we know the great skills and capabilities that veterans develop during their time in the Australian Defence Force. And this morning, myself and the Minister, Matt Thistlethwaite, launched this program in my electorate at Matraville, at Bravo Electrical, where we met a number of tradespeople who had finished their service with the Australian Navy and are now working for that business, supplying those skills. But what they needed, Tom, and what was important was that when they finished their careers in the Australian Defence Force, quite often a few veterans will need a top-up of their skills to ensure that they're commercially employable. And this $24 million program provides grants for businesses and for veterans to upskill, to maybe do a couple of extra TAFE courses or university courses to ensure that they're employable in the commercial market. And we saw evidence of that today, and those services are now being supplied to Defence through those contractors and improving the capability of the Australian Defence Force.
No shortage of needs for tradies at the moment in the country. Just want to finish on what's, I guess, an interesting time for UK-Australia relations. Things have died down a bit since the second test, but you were suggesting so pompous was the behaviour of some of the English. This is going to drive people towards a republic here, being inundated with new Republicans.
Well, I am the Minister for the Republic, so I never miss an opportunity, Tom. But I thought that it did really illustrate, the difference between what that old Britain, that British aristocratic notion that was on display there, and I was quite often on display in the long room at Lords, versus New Australia. New Australia, having moved on, we're no longer British. We no longer sing God Save the King. We're Australian, and we're very much a multicultural nation. And wonderful that that's starting to be reflected in our parliament and in our sporting teams. And you've got people who are performing well, like Usman Khawaja, many of the members of the Matildas tonight that will go around. And that's New Australia. And I think that we can do a better job in representing that in the future by having one of our own as our head of state, rather than relying on old Britain for our head of state.
Maybe changing the anthem really hurt the Republican movement. If we were singing God Save the King these days, I don't know, maybe to give you a groundswell. The PM, though, he might have cursed things here. He tweeted about a week ago, same old Aussies always winning. Since then, the women have lost their last 2 matches, the men have lost their last match, and neither Ashes is assured. So will he apologise to the Australian people if we go down in flames now?
No, never back down, Tom. Never back down when you're supporting an Australian team. I think that, it demonstrates the Prime Minister's commitment to backing Australia. And indeed, many of us are of the same mind. And you saw that when he met with Rishi Sunak at NATO. Always back an Australian, Tom. That's my view. And that's why we should have an Australian head of state. We know an Australian can do the job, so let's back an Australian.
All right. Well, just don't curse an Australian. I guess that's my point. We'll see. We haven't lost yet.
Go the Matildas tonight.
Matt Thistlethwaite, thank you.